Guys, rideshare guy here, and today I've got a video that's going to talk about, is driving for Uber still safe? So obviously I'm recording this video because you guys may have seen a few weeks ago there was a big incident with an Uber driver who caught it all on dash cam, and this Taco Bell executive basically was drunk out of his mind and attacked him. And fortunately the driver had a dash cam going and some pepper spray, so he was able to protect himself. And long story short, the passenger got in a lot of trouble, got fired from his job, probably his whole life. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say it's ruined, but he's going to have a lot of problems going forward just in life in general. And the driver kind of was able to, not necessarily become famous, but he obviously is very well known among the driver community, and it brought up just a lot of questions about safety in general of drivers and what can be done. Should Uber be doing more? So just initially, I would say that if you're asking yourself, is Uber driving still safe? I think that the things to keep in mind is that there's still 1 million Uber rides every single day, right? Now we see a video here or a news article there or a story there. When you put that in perspective, let's say that there's one incident a day, which is probably very conservative. I suspect that there's a lot less. 1 out of 1 million is, like 0.001% or whatever it is, right? So when you put it in that type of perspective, the odds of something happening are very low. But I still think that you definitely I still understand the kind of the need, or just the fear that people are having out there. Hey, is this job as safe as I thought it was? Because when you think about it, oh, I'm just transporting all these friendly people around. But now when you see videos like this, you're like, wait, maybe this is something different than I really expected. And so for me, I think that you really have to look to other, look at the taxi industry, for example, and you see that, hey, they have these plexiglass screens up there, right? Why do taxi drivers have this? Now, I can tell you it's there for a reason, right? It's not there just because it looks good, right? It's there to protect the driver from passengers, because incidents have obviously happened in the past. And as Uber starts to take more and more of that taxi share, all those people who used to take taxis, where do you think they're going? They're now going into the back of Uber. So that's something to keep in mind, right? That you may think that, hey, maybe in the past you thought that there was absolutely no risk. And I'm not going to say now that there's a ton of risk, but I do think that it is there. It does exist, even if it is a very small percentage. As far as, if it's still safe, I would say that if you are worried about this, or if you do think this is an issue, the proactive approach always works the best, right? I mean, right off the bat, you can tell that having a dash cam in this situation was probably huge, right? He got this whole thing on video, and there was really no question, no doubt. Even if maybe the driver in this incident didn't do everything perfect, the dash cam still really sided with him, and I think video is super compelling. So that's something that could probably honestly be the best first option. As far as a proactive approach. And then, even when you're out there driving, I think that there are a lot of cues and a lot of signs that you can take from passengers if you're trying to avoid drunk passengers who can barely figure things out, right? If they're not entering their destination, if they're stumbling over to the car. And a big one for me is if they're not able to drop their pin in the right spot, right? If you go to the pickup point and they're 5 blocks away, it's probably because they're wasted and they can't figure out how to work the app and their fingers are moving all over the screen. So there are a lot of proactive signs that you can look for. Now, obviously, it's kind of a bummer when you drive to someone and they turn out to be wasted and you can't do that ride because you just spent time driving to them, you spent time looking for them, and that's kind of where it's a game time decision. It's up to you. Hey, do I still want to transport this passenger? Maybe take the risk of he's going to throw up in my car, or the very, very small risk that something could happen where he just, gets belligerent. Now, and so it's really up to you at that point to kind of make a decision. Now, me personally, if it's busy and generally if I'm out driving party hours, I know that I can get a ride request pretty soon after that. So, for me, it's kind of a no-brainer in that situation to cancel the request, and then hopefully I'll get a new one within a couple minutes. Drive away from that guy because you don't want to get him again, obviously. And the other thing that I'll say, that as far as the safety issue, I think that, a lot can be said about diffusing the situation, right? You can really control, especially someone who's drunk and belligerent, right? There's certain things that you can say that are really going to piss them off, like kicking them out of the car. And there's also certain things that you can say that can kind of diffuse the situation and coax them down. You kind of knew that something was about to happen in that video when that driver kicked the guy out of the car, right? It was pretty obvious that he was not going to take it standing up, right? So it's kind of like these things where I really think that, kind of going in with the mindset and the attitude that you can diffuse the situation, and the last resort is resorting to kicking someone out. Last resort is getting out pepper spray, right? Because I mean, this situation ended up working out in the driver's favor. He was able to pepper spray the passenger and he wasn't harmed other than, after what happened, right? But nothing really escalated. But I mean, who knows if your passenger's armed and you pepper spray them, and then it kind of devolves into could have devolved into a much worse situation. So personally, I mean, I understand the need to carry a dash cam and the need to carry a non-lethal weapon, but I would really not want to use it unless it was absolutely necessary. And I kind of completely understand why drivers get fed up with this. I mean, I've been out there driving on the road, and it's easy to look and say, oh, you got to just diffuse the situation. You got to just handle it better. But at the same time, right, when I go out and drive, I understand these people, hey, they're slamming your doors. The 15th guy who slams your door, the fifth, group of passengers who tries to fit in 6 people. And then you have the next group, they try to bring in alcohol, right? And all of these little things start to add up and culminate. And that's when drivers can really get frustrated. And that's when you need to really be careful. It's kind of like towards the end of your shift when mentally you're the most drained. You still have to kind of be on the top of your game as far as diffusing the situation, because at the end of the shift, that's when you're going to be dealing with the most drunk people. So those are kind of my thoughts on safety. I mean, I guess if you are pretty worried or concerned about this, you do have some alternatives as far as driving during the day. You get pretty few passengers who are absolutely wasted during the day. And if anything, it's very uncommon. They're pretty easy to spot if they're drunk at 12 p.m. on a Tuesday. And it's just very unlikely in general. And the other alternative is going to be to deliver for delivery companies, right? So go out and work for DoorDash, work for Postmates, or even other local courier type services in your area. So there's definitely options if you are worried about the safety issues on Uber. So hopefully this addressed some of your questions, concerns. Definitely leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe. I appreciate it all. Look forward to hearing from you guys soon. All right, take care.